So this year does mark my 10th anniversary since I came out officially as gay. Surprise, surprise! Yes, I'm gay. I cannot actually believe that it's been 10 years since I came out. Like, it's literally insane. Like, it's weird to think back now to the time where at one point in my life, I was willing to die for this. Like, this is something that I was like, if I am gay and have to live this life, I will die. So for my coming out story number 6,255, I'm gonna revisit my coming out story and retell it, and also like add things on that I haven't really explained since my last one. You know, it's been like 4-ish years now, so much has happened. So I always knew that I was gay. There was never a time in my life where I actually thought,
I'm straight, I like girls.
I was very fortunate to grow up in a household where being gay wasn't an issue. Like, we had a gay uncle and my mum loved him and my sister loved him, and like I was a bit young to really understand what was going on, but like knowing there was always that sort of comfort in my life that being gay wasn't an issue, and it was always really comfortable for me. So I did actually come out to my mum and my sister when I was 12 years old. 11 or 12 years old, I can't remember the precise number, which was insane really. I remember sitting with my sister in France. We were on a holiday, like a family holiday, and I just started crying to her, and she was like, what the hell is the matter with you? And I was like, Hayley, I'm gay. Whenever I tell people that I came out so young, they're always like, what? Like, what? Like, it's insane. And like, one of the most stupid questions I always get is, how did you know? I'm like, well, I just knew. Like, you always knew that you were straight. I always knew that I was gay. I was also a very flamboyant child. Like, I was always very like,
Hiya, yeah, great.
I was a very sort of like stereotypically gay child, so no one was surprised. But it wasn't always so la-ti-da and happy, because as soon as I joined high school and, you know, the boys' voices started to drop and everyone started to change and sort of become into themselves a little bit more, the boys started to notice little differences about me. Because when you're in primary school, like, you don't notice these things, because all the boys have high voices still. They're also like screaming and shouting, like everyone's kind of the same. But, you know, as you start to grow up and you realize the new differences between each other, the boys start to pick out that my voice was a lot more camper, and I had sort of like mannerisms, like I was very flicky wrists, and I was very sort of like swish, and I would skip a little bit. When all the bullying started and like people started to know what the term gay was, I was like the gay boy in school, the batty, the puffter, the bender, like every name under the sun I was called. So as soon as all that stuff did start to happen, I become very insular and like closed away and hidden, and everything a part of me, everything that I loved, I had to hide because I was being bullied for it. And in my head, it was meant that this was a bad thing. This clearly wasn't something that you were meant to be. And so I, you know, sort of came out to my family, and I started to be like, you know, I was just confused. I didn't really understand what was going on. And, you know, I was this like 13-year-old boy going like, oh no, I like women. Like, look, I've got a girlfriend. And that was something that I actually did, which is really weird. And I don't really understand how I got girlfriends. Like, I had quite a few girlfriends growing up in school. Like, my first ever like real proper relationship was a girl called Natalie. And like, this one, like, we sort of were together in things, and like, we would make out in the school prom. As you grow up and you get a bit older, some people like to go further when it's not just kissing, and it goes into more sexual relations. So around about sort of like 15 years old, and I started like with the girls that I was with at the time. You know, as you get older and people want to experiment more, and all the girls want to experiment and the boys want to experiment, and they're like doing things and stuff. And for me, it was terrifying, because it was like, I have to now do something with a girl that I don't want to do. At this stage in my life, I was like, how long can I do this for? Like, so my last sort of girlfriend that I ever did anything with, we never actually had sex, but if I was with her, I would have to like go to the bathroom, jack off a bit, get myself more excited, and then go back to her in the bedroom, because it was like I couldn't do anything. It's weird, because it was such a hard time for me, because I was like, I want this so bad. I cannot be gay. Like, I cannot be gay. I have to do this because I want a family, I want kids, I want the normal life where I can be respected and not be called a faggot every single day. It's just insane. Like, it's literally insane to think back for that time and think, you know, I was bullied and beaten up like practically every day. I was pushed downstairs and I had my bag filled with water. I was punched in the face, I was pushed over, like I was kicked. Like, one of the main times I really felt really sad about everything was I was waiting to go to a lesson, and this like guy, one of the rugby player people in our school, rammed me up against the wall and winded me and practically like cracked, almost broke a rib. I get cracked, like my stomach went like that, and maybe I broke a rib, I don't know, but I was on the floor and I couldn't breathe for about half an hour. Like, I could not breathe, and everyone around me was just laughing. None of the people helped me, no one stood up for me, no one did anything, and like even the teacher did like nothing. Like, they didn't see it. Load of utter crap. Like, they saw what happened. At that point in my life, I was like, just, why am I here? Like, why am I actually here anymore? Like, who cares? I always ask people when I meet them, you know, when they come out, what was the one point in their life where it snapped in their head and was like, you are gay, just accept it. So mine was a rather bizarre experience, I could say the least. So I was actually on a double date. So I'm not going to use people's names just because I know some of them might see this video. So I was with my girlfriend at the time, and then I was with, we'll call them Josh and Samantha. So Josh and Samantha were together, and I was with my girlfriend at the time as well. So we were all over Samantha's house, and we were playing Dares. And for some weird reason, I don't really understand what they thought they were doing, but Samantha and my girlfriend got me and Josh to kiss. And that was a weird thing. So I was like, oh God, they're gonna make me kiss a boy. Like, that's... what? Like, do I do this? In my head, I was like freaking out. So he was all up for it. So he was like, yeah, let's go for it. So we like went over and like made out with each other. And oh my God. I had more adrenaline, more blood, more thrill, more excitement, more anything pumping through my body in that moment than I have had in the entire 5 years that I'd been with girls. It was the most euphoric feeling I've had, like, ever. And I remember that feeling, and I stopped, and I sort of, like, was stopped a little bit and was like, whoa. And in my head, I was like, you like that a lot. It was just, no, so just thinking back to that time, it was just insane. And then, so my girlfriend, she was like, now kiss me to make sure you're not gay. And I made out with her right after, and I was like, what is this? Like, this is not what I thought I wanted. At that moment, I didn't care if I was made fun of. I didn't care if people called me names or beat me up. You know what? To have that experience with that boy and to have that actual rush of adrenaline and emotion and feeling inside of me was worth any hatred I could ever have at that time. It was like, wow, this is actually who I should be. And I will never forget that feeling. I will never forget that moment. And it's one of those things that really hold deep in my head. And then it ended up being like a weird love triangle. That guy turned out to be bisexual, which was quite funny, really. And we ended up sleeping with each other a few times prior to that experience anyway. But we're jumping ahead a bit. After that moment, me and my girlfriend did break up. We broke up, about 6 months passed on. And I said to myself inside, I was like, you know what? I think I need to just start telling people that I'm gay. When I joined sixth form, so after school, all the bullies mainly left and it was just sort of left with the people who actually wanted to learn. I made this sort of thing to myself that any new person that I would meet, I would never say that I was straight. I would just be like, yeah, but I'm not out yet, so I'd appreciate you keeping it to yourself. So 2007, when we joined sixth form, like I met some people like my friend Tom, and one of the first things he asked me was like, are you gay by any chance? Because I was quite flamboyant and out of myself at that point. And I was like, yeah, you know what, I am, but please don't tell anyone. And then someone who I also met who became one of my boyfriends a little while down the line, Aaron, like when he first met me, I was like, you know what? I'm gay, like just don't tell anyone please. And he wasn't out himself as well, so we sort of bonded over that experience of not being out. So the main thing was me, it was really hard telling friends that I've told for so long that I was straight. So the first person that I did actually come out to officially, who was part of my original friendship group, was my ex-girlfriend. And we were over my friend Daniel's house and we were going to a theme park the next day. And I was just sitting on top of her, like we were like sort of play fighting, you could say. We were sort of rumbling around and like I pinned her down and stuff, and she was like, Roland, are you gay? And I was just like, yep. As soon as I was like, yep, in my head, I was like, shite, I just said it, like, and I could see in her face that she was really taken back by it, because she was like, are you? And then in my head then, it was like, what do I do now? Do I deny it and then carry on living this lie a bit more, or do I just face up to it now? I've wanted to do this for a long time, and this could be the perfect opportunity. Happily for me, I was just like, you know what? I am actually. It was like an amazing weight off my shoulders, and it was so good to finally tell one person. Now, I'd love to tell you after that it was a nice, joyous, like, time after that. No. I told the wrong bloody person. The next day, we went to the theme park, and the whole time we were there, she would not stop talking about me being gay, like, really open, really happy about it. Oh, I love having a gay friend, it's so fun, oh, we can do lots of gay things. And it was like, I wasn't ready for the general public to know that I was gay. Not that anyone would care about it, but, like, having her spew out the fact that I was gay in front of all of these people made me feel so uncomfortable, like so uncomfortable. It was horrendous. And then, you know, like a month later, I was in school and she told like 4 or 5 of my friends, and I was just like, how can you do this to me? And it really took me back a little bit, because I was like the one person that I trusted with this like real thing about me just happily spewed out to so many people, not thinking at all, some people might not like it, not thinking what could happen. It was just like so thoughtless. And of course, all these people were coming up to me asking me these questions, and I was like, I'm not ready. Like, I was so overwhelmed by everything. I was having like panic attacks at home and stuff, because I was like, oh my god, like it was just horrible, like absolutely horrible. So my best friend Hannah, luckily enough, she never found out at that time, because I know she would have been upset finding out through someone else rather than me, because we were like this. But because we were like this, I was so terrified about telling her. And I don't, like, obviously, thinking back now, I was really dumb to think that she would, like, disregard me and be like, no babbage, because we were best friends. But at the time, the people that you love the most and the people that you care about the most are the people that you're scaredest to tell. So one day we were going buying Pokemon cards and we were coming home from town and I was sitting on the bus and I was like, I can't hide this from her anymore. Like I felt terrible because everyone else at this point kind of knew. I felt really bad that I hadn't told her, but she was the one that I was most scared about. So I remember I went home and she was like, what was the matter with you? Because she was trying to talk to me on the bus and I was just really, really sad and I wasn't really talking and she knew something was wrong. And you know what, I just texted her, you know what, Hannah, I need to tell you something, I'm gay. And I pressed the send button, threw my phone away, and I was like, oh my god, I just did it, oh my god, that was the last person, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Obviously everything turned out fine, but it was mental, like absolutely mental. I don't really have a coming out story with my family because I had already come out when I was younger. It was never really like a thing to come out again. We just started talking about stuff and then talking about boys and things, and it was like, oh okay, like there was no coming out story with them really. The only time I ever had a bad experience with coming out to someone in my family was my uncle. This is not the one who was gay, obviously. So I lived with my grandparents ever since I was young. So my granddad was kind of like my dad. So his brother was like my uncle. Technically he's my great uncle, but he was just my uncle. And he came over one day and I was talking to my friend on the phone. And at this point in my life, I had been out for maybe like 3-4 years. So I was very comfortable with who I was at that point. And I never got on with him ever since I was young. Like I never really liked him. So I was like, crap. And my granddad spotted me. So he was like, oh, Roland, come and say hello. And I was like, nah. So I walked in and I was like, hello, how are you? And he was like, hello, Roland, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm good, thank you. He had a really, really thick Devonshire accent and it was horrendous. And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm just on the phone with someone, so I can't really stop. And he was like, oh, so what's her name? And I was like, oh, no, it's not a girl. And she was like, oh, it's a boy. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're not one of them, are you? Now, people who don't know, this means puff. And within that moment, he just literally ripped into me and told me how disgusting I was. And I was, you know, scum of the earth and I was embarrassment to the family. So in that moment, I just exploded and spewed so much like anger towards him because at that time I'd been accepted for so long. To suddenly hear someone in my family say that stuff to me was so hurtful to me, and I was literally just shouting at him, like basically telling him to get the hell out of my house if he doesn't accept me. Like, you're the disgusting person. Like, you're the great. Like, yeah, I was like, it was just a mess. And that was actually how I came out to my granddad. Like, I'd never told my granddad before because I was like, you know what? He grew up in the 50s. Like, you know, just he's accepting me for who I am, but we don't need to talk about me being gay. Like, it's not a thing. So I hadn't actually told him officially that I was gay, and it never really bothered me. So that was actually how I came out to him, by shouting at his brother. So that was, you can come out in arguments. I always wondered, how do you come out in an argument? But I came out in an argument to my granddad. Now, YouTube played a massive part in my coming out experience. You know, I found YouTube when I was only 16 years old, and I discovered all these really like old school YouTubers who aren't obviously around anymore, and they helped me so much to accept who I was. And you know, I looked up to these gay people online and I was like, wow, this is insane. So like, that's when I wanted to start it. So sort of like jumping back a little bit on the story, 2008 I did start my YouTube channel, and I really wanted to sort of show people that you can be yourself, like sort of the thing that most gay people say they want to do on YouTube, but you know, I really wanted to do it. When I first came out, I always thought, I'm so happy, you know, I'm gay, la da da, yay, everyone accepts me. But you have no idea how much you'll change over the years. Like, I honestly cannot fathom the fact that I'm so, like, the person I am now compared to what I was when I first started YouTube. So when I came out, like, just over a year and a half ago, like, of gender fluid, I only discovered that about myself over the last couple years. Like, you know, I'd been out as gay for like 8 years, like happily living that life, and then that one time I suddenly thought, actually, Roland, my gender is a little bit different, and I discovered my gender fluidity and started to accept that side of me because I'd hid it for so long. And you think it took me that long to discover that about myself, and you change all the time, and then when I first came out as gender fluid, I was still very confused about what I wanted to be. And you know, again, I'm gonna make a video about my gender pushing, but you know, I forced myself to look androgynous. I forced myself to look more non-binary because I was like, you know, people won't accept me unless I fit into this mold of, you know, gender fluidity or like androgynous kind of style, which now I'm like, I've accepted the fact that I'm a predominantly male presenting gender fluid person. That's fine. But when I first came out of that, it was like, wow, like I never ever thought that I would be able to be be sort of like the way I am and accept that side of my gender, because it was like, oh no, you have to fit into the stereotypical sort of non-binary scene. And it's like, it's mad. It's absolutely mad that I still did that. And going on how long it's been, you know, the only reason I really was able to accept my gender fluidity was when I managed to like move to London. Because although I was accepted in Devon, Devon's still like a little bit of a bubble, and you sort of get wrapped up and around what you think is normal. And people would make comments about trans people all the time there. And like, although I knew it was offensive, it was like deemed as normal. Like, it wasn't like a thing where you think that's outrageous, how would you say that? It's weird to think back, because I was never like transphobic. Obviously I was never transphobic, but like, it's a normal thing that people say, so it doesn't shock you, it doesn't make you feel weird. But because I would hear a lot of that stuff, a lot of my feelings of wanting to wear a lot of makeup and wearing female clothing was very, very suppressed. And then when I moved to London and was able to live here completely free from judgment, you know, I was just literally surrounded by my YouTube friends who knew who I were, who knew who I was, who knew what I was about. And it was just like, being able to live so free completely here was the reason I was able to explore with makeup. I was able to like explore with my gender and my expression and everything. And that was how I really discovered my gender fluidity, and was like, this is what this feeling has been inside of me for so long, but it was so suppressed back in Devon. There was no way I could walk down the street in Devon with high heels on and a full face of makeup and not be heckled in the street. Like, it just wouldn't happen. I don't understand why this isn't taught in schools like so young. Like, if I knew about genders and, you know, sexuality from a very, very young age, I would have been so much happier. And I said on the LGBT panel in Summer of the City last year that, you know, there's this stupid notion that, you know, if we teach kids about gay things as kids, like, oh, they'll choose to be gay. We obviously know that gender and sexuality is not a choice. No one wakes up one morning and goes, I want to be oppressed today, I want to be part of a minority. Like, that doesn't happen. But can I just say that if people did choose a sexuality, if sexuality was a choice, who cares? Like, who honestly cares what someone else does? If they're not hurting anyone, and they're not doing anything illegal, obviously, like, who cares? Like, what does it matter what someone else does with their life? I don't understand. So, I know this video went on for a very long time. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. If you are new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, because I do videos every single week regarding a whole lot of topics. And obviously, I've got some more videos here you can go and watch and see. Hit the like button, because those really help me out. And I'll see you all very soon for another Pride Fabulous video. Yeah. What was that?